Welcome back, everybody, to episode 4, the final episode of Financial Success. If somebody comes up with another idea or a question or something, we can always do in episode 5, as I've said throughout all these videos. First things first, before we get into it, I want to say sorry, give an apology because we're a day behind. These are going up every Wednesday and today's Thursday. We had kind of a crazy day yesterday and everything got a little delayed, pushed back, etc. But I'm here, we're good to go, and we're going to tackle episode 4 right now. So the topic of episode 4 is saving and investing. Throughout all these episodes, I don't think that we stayed with the specific topic and didn't bleed into the others one way or another. And this one isn't the same. If you guys have been watching the other videos, you've seen I've mentioned saving, I mentioned investing in passing. In one way or another, it's come up. But today we're going to kind of focus on it a little bit more and probably mix in what I said in the other videos, and everything's kind of bleed together and mix in. You'll see. So, okay, let's begin. All these things that I was mentioning in the others, everything kind of accumulates and builds to this. Or maybe the other way around. Maybe this leads into everything else that I mentioned. It's going to be up to your interpretation, and I'm not going to tell you which way to look at it. It's up to you. But you have to, saving and investing, the main goal of that, which I'm sure you know, is to plan for the future. Why? Well, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know what's going to happen when you finish watching this video. You don't know what's going to happen in the next 5 minutes further into this video. Who knows? Today, this is, like I said I mentioned in these videos, I'm not going to tell you how to invest, where to invest, a money market versus a CD. I don't get into that. I'm not going to try and tell you those things. Plus, who knows? Today, the stock market looks different than it did a couple of days ago. As we speak, I think it was a couple of days ago, the stock market, the Dow, I think, dropped like 700 points with the trade negotiations or things back at a standstill with China. So, who knows? Things change. I'm not going to tell you one way or the other. But what I will say definitively is that saving and investing is always a good idea. Because even if the stock market drops 700 points, it's going to go back up 700 points. Saving and investing, regardless of which one you do, is always for the long haul. It's always for the long term. So, all these things that I mentioned in the other videos, when I talk about, being honest, staying disciplined, using credit, etc., everything has a long-term benefit. Short-term benefits with finances are rarely seen unless you say, hey, this month, I'm not going to spend $100 eating out. Great. Well, then the immediate benefit of that is that you have an extra $100. Fantastic. But what we're talking about with all these other things, we're talking about larger than $100 benefit. We're talking about thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, whatever the case may be, depending on how much you make, how much you put away, etc. That's all, determined by the individual and by their individual situation. So, if you want to save your money, the downside of saving your money, let's go through the pros and cons of each. The obvious ones, at least. If you save your money, and many of these things you guys already may know too. I'm not here telling you things you don't know, I don't believe. Pro of saving your money is you have immediate access to it, and you don't need to involve anyone else. You can save money in a piggy bank. You can save money under your mattress. You can save money in your bank account. You can create a savings account, at your bank. The cons of saving are that in our lifetimes, I'm assuming that most people, I'm going to be 30 in March, so I haven't been around for that long, and I'm guessing that most of the viewers here are probably around my age or younger, maybe a little bit older too, but I don't think we have any 60-year-olds. But if we do, you guys may remember a time where you could save your money and make there was a great interest rate on savings accounts. But that's not the case anymore, and it hasn't been for many, many, many decades. So most people will say that the saver is always the loser because the inflation rate is higher than the interest rate that you'll get on a savings account, which means if things go up in price economically faster than your money grows, in the end you're going to lose. Because if today $100, you put $100 in savings, and let's say $100 buys you a steak dinner for two at a restaurant, well, in 10 years, if that $100 only grew up to $150, but the inflation rate doubled, that means that same steak dinner is going to cost $200, but you're only going to have $150. So in the end, you lose. That's what that would mean. So that's the big negative when it comes to savings accounts. The other big negative, I would think, is also immediate access. It could be a pro or a con. You have immediate access? Well, yeah, but then you may be tempted to touch it, to fiddle with it, grab money out of it. Then it's not really a savings account anymore. I think my bank account, I remember talking to them one time, and they told me, I think this is when I was opening it about 10, 11 years ago, and they said, a savings account will keep as a savings account, but only if you draw from it or touch it. Well, no, if you withdraw from it, not deposit to it, but if you withdraw from it less than X number of times, I don't remember, let's say 5 times in a month or 10 times, right? If you're pulling money out of it more than 5 times a month, it's not a savings account anymore. And they'll say, we'll automatically convert it to a checking. So, fine, makes sense. So, keeping that in mind, I think that's the best way to put it. So those are the pros and cons of savings. Now, the investing is everything pretty much opposite. Investing, usually the big pro is that interest rates. You can make a lot more money. You can earn a lot more on your dollar than you can with a savings account. The other pro, I believe, is that it's not easily accessible. If you do it yourself, in theory, you can sell your stocks if you invest in stocks. You can sell your bonds if you do that and get the money in hand if you want. But it usually takes a little bit of time. There's usually a transaction period, a few days, something like that. If you have an investment guy like I do, I just let him do it. There's always, we can take it, we can get it for you, but it's going to be, 5 business days or something like that. So usually when those things come up, you say, oh, okay, well, since you're telling me that, let me rethink this. Maybe there's another way I can approach this situation in life where I feel that I need this extra amount of money. And I think that's good. Things that make us second guess, things that force us to pause and think are always good. So those would be the pros. And the cons of investing are higher risk. And the reason that you don't have high interest rates with a savings account is because you have no risk. The risk is minimal. Of course, if you had your money with AIG in 2008 or Lehman Brothers or whatever, ouch, you're out of luck. Obviously you had your mortgage with them, but and if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, you may be too young. Go back and look at the mortgage bubble and the mortgage crisis of 2008. I don't know if they're teaching that in schools, but that was a thing and pretty big thing. So that can happen, but the chances of that are significantly less than investing your money, let's say, in making a higher interest rate. On the other hand, the benefit of investing, like I said, we talked about the benefits. So the other con of investing, I would say, going back to, like I did with savings, that I think that the fact that you can't get it out easily is a pro, but it's also a con. It depends on the situation. I think and this is really going to be up to you guys, how you want to view it and how you want to look at it. To me personally, I really think it's a benefit. But one could say, well, it's a con because I have $50,000 invested, but I can't get it for 5 days. Yeah, true. But the only time that you should really need $50,000, in my opinion, is if you're going to, let's say you have a medical emergency, in which case the hospital is going to wait 5 days for you to pay them. If you need to buy a new house, yeah, but again, they'll wait 5 days. The bank will wait 5 days, or the person, if you're buying in cash, the person will wait 5 days until you get that $50,000 in your hand. Things don't move that quickly. So, in my opinion, it's a pro. Some may look at it as a con, but it goes back to being honest with yourself and being disciplined. I think that the difficulty of removing it easily makes it easier to stay disciplined. It also makes it easier for those who are dishonest with themselves and say, oh, I have no problem putting my money away. I can trust myself. I won't, touch it. I won't whatever. Yeah, fine. But like I said in video 1, I don't believe you. That's not true, and you're a liar. If you say that, you're lying to yourself and you're lying to me if you're telling me that. So I think that the fact that they wouldn't be restrictions, but these hurdles are placed. Sorry, I couldn't find the right word. If these hurdles are placed, I think is good, because for the dishonest person and for the honest person, it benefits both of them, because they won't be touching their money. and they won't be tempted to buy a new fancy car because, oh, but I got to get the money out. So while the process is going, or you begin the process, you think, man, do I really need that car? Do I really want it to? No. Now the heat of the moment is gone. I left the dealership. I'm not, jumping out of my socks out of excitement to buy the new car. So maybe it's really not a good idea. Let's just leave the money in there. Let's keep building it up, and let's buy a nicer house down the line, or use this money for our kids' college, or whatever. You know what I mean? Things like that. So I see it as that. Definitely a benefit. So those would be the main differences between saving and investing. Things that they both share, as I mentioned before, are the long-term prospects. I can't emphasize that enough. So today is August 8th, 2019. You may say, Manny, I don't know what I would do with $50,000 if I had it right now. Okay. Or you may say, I do know what I would do with $50,000, and it's buy a new car. Let's just use that as an example. Great. I would say fantastic. But my response to you would be, okay, but you don't know what you would do with $50,000 in 10 years. No, I think I know. The guy who says I buy the car right now may say, well, I'd buy the same car, or the newer model of the car. The other guy may say, no, I don't know. Great. So my response to both of them is, well, you know now what you want right now, or you may not. You think you know. But really, it's impossible to know what's going to happen in 10 years. It's impossible to know what's going to happen in 20 years. But the best thing to do is have everything ready. And I mentioned this, I think, in the last video, with using credit and things like that. You really can't predict the future. One thing I learned going back to the mortgage crisis, I was taking a business class in college back then in 2008, and one thing that the guy mentioned is, regardless of what anybody tries to tell you, an investment guy or something, that they say, oh, history can determine the outcome or the future prospects of a specific market, the stock market, whatever. That's not true. Nobody can predict. No history. So history, what's important today, what was important yesterday, may not be important tomorrow. What happened 10 years ago doesn't mean it's going to happen again in 10 years. Life isn't. There are perhaps, according to some people, some cyclical repetitions and things about life in general, societies and civilizations, but for the most part, we don't know if we're going to have another economic crisis. We finished the mortgage bubble, but a lot of people these days are theorizing little by little, more and more, that the next thing is the student loan crisis. Kids aren't paying it back. They're going to college, they're getting a thing, and they're not getting the jobs that they expected to get, so they're not really focused on paying it back. Well, that bubble's just growing and growing and growing. So, we'll see. But again, maybe it won't happen. Whatever the case may be, you don't know and I don't know. So put money away. Plan for the future when the unforeseen happens, whether good or bad, right? You say good. The bad thing may be an economic, your house isn't worth anything anymore or whatever. Okay, well, great. I got a lot of money to cover off on the money. I have a lot of money invested to cover off on the money that I lost if I sold my house today. Or it may be for a good thing. I never expected that my kid was going to want to go to college, and he got accepted to Brown University, he got accepted to Harvard, whatever the case may be. Fantastic. Luckily, I have $100,000. May not cover the entire tuition, but it'll cover a significant portion, so the rest, we'll figure it out. But at least my kid can go to Harvard now that he decided to. There you go. And then he got accepted. So I think that the saving and the investing really ties in more than anything to episode number 1 of this. And if you haven't watched it, go back and watch it, which is being honest with yourself. Part of being honest with yourself, I focused on the first video about the honesty being that you can't trust yourself to put away the money every month, so you need to have somebody put it away for you. Have it automatically taken out. Don't trust yourself. In addition to that, you can't trust yourself to know what you're going to need the money for or what you're not going to need the money for in the future. Or trust yourself about, I know it's going to happen tomorrow. Nah, you don't know. When I get done recording this video, it may upload, I may get hit by a bus when I walk out of the house. So there's no way of knowing. Now, this is probably the simplest and shortest video out of all of them. I don't know how long this is going to be, but I think it should be the simplest. This is an easy thing to plan for the future. Planning for the unknown future. If you save you don't usually have to get a third party involved other than a bank. You can save it in your house, but like I said, the more accessible, the more easily accessible the money is that you're putting away, the more chance there is that you touch it. And if you touch it, it ceases to be a savings account and you're not going to have as much. So if we're honest with ourselves, we can all admit that we will succumb to that temptation. For the same reason that I remember talking to a girlfriend a long time ago back in high school. We were talking about, she was asking me about, cheating or being unfaithful in relationships and what I thought about that. And I said, well, to me, it's all about putting yourself in certain situations. There's a reason that I choose not to go with a female coworker of mine who I find unbelievably attractive to a foreign city in a nice hotel and spend the night with her and get one room. Well, because obviously, right? So again, these are choices that we make. So knowing that we're all human, we're infallible, and mistakes can be made, temptations are real, and nobody is a brick wall, then we should be honest with ourselves and put the money far, far away, difficult to get to, but accessible when and if we truly need it. And my suggestion is that I would encourage investing more than saving. If you're going to do one, investing is the most important. Saving is important too, don't misunderstand me. But saving is not going to have the benefit that investing will. I suggest that you do both. My recommendation is both. You should have an immediate savings account for emergencies. Let's say 6 months worth of your current salary at your job. So if you make $1,000 a month, you should have $6,000 in savings. That's what most people would recommend. I think that's a good idea. Because if you lose your job, you don't want to touch your investments. You don't want to mess with that. Let that keep growing and working in the market while you're finding a new job. But you're going to need money coming in, so it would be good to have. That's when you touch your savings. Okay, so I need 6 months to find a new job. Luckily, I have 6 months of income, so I'm not going to feel the pain. And when you get a new job, if it took you 4 months, you spend the first 4 months putting that money back, and then you're good to go. No harm, no foul. Everything's back to normal. Investing is for the big long-term projects, like I said, buying a house, sending your kid to college, etc. So do both. If you can do both, do both. And I think you can do both. I don't think that there's anybody that can't do both. Build up your savings. Make that priority number one. Get that going. Have 6 months worth. Once you got that done, okay, now I don't think about it anymore. Lock it, put it away, put it out of your mind. Don't even think about it. Now, let me focus on investing. Invest. And you just keep making that pot grow and grow and grow and grow. And when you're not making it grow because you're out of a job and you're touching your savings, or because you took a vacation, so that month you didn't put anything into investments, doesn't matter. Because what's nice is that money keeps working for you. In a savings account, yeah, it's going to work, but it's going to get 0.01% interest rate or something. Well, I think it's more like 1%, but whatever. It's so insignificant that it's not growing. 1% interest rate, it's not growing. So if you have it in investments, if you're a low risk person, it's still going to grow at 4%. The more risk you take, the more it's going to grow. Or the more it could grow. Let's be technical about that. So, my recommendation is really to do both. Saving is important, but investing is more important. The amount of people who retire, they get to 65 or 60 or whatever age they're retiring, 55 if you work for the state of Illinois like I did, you don't want to be in that situation that I've seen a lot of people get in, and they didn't plan. They've spent 30 years working at a job, making a nice living, and they chose to live in the immediate, live for the present, which is fine. There's something to be said about that too, don't get me wrong. But now they find themselves in a situation where they have to live in a circumstance, they're going to have a living situation that is significantly lower than the one that they'd had while they were working. There's no reason for that. My point is, if you plan well and you look to the future, then hopefully you should be able to continue the lifestyle or maintain the lifestyle that you had when you were working. which I think is the most important thing. If you live in a mansion while you're working, then you have to go live in a hut. Who wants to do that? Or live in a cheap apartment. Now, some people say, I want to downsize. Okay, that's fine. But if you but better that you can make the choice. You don't want life to have to make it for you, and look back and then kick yourself. You can make decisions to impact your future, but you can't change the past. So 20 years from now, if you look back and you said, I made a mistake, I didn't invest, there's nothing you can do about it. Those 20 years are gone. The only thing you can do is start investing and wait another 20 years. But the next guy is going to look back and say, man, thank God I invested for those 20 years, because now I have 20 years worth of investments. Sure, I didn't buy the biggest screen TV every month. I didn't buy the latest pair of shoes or whatever's your expense. But man, now I'm going to live really, really well. Fantastic. Well, there you go. Don't set yourself up. And I talked about that in Staying Disciplined in episode 2, which is, hey, it's hard to stay disciplined if you make your life so uncomfortable in the present that you're unhappy. Because then you're going to be tempted. Like I was using an example about dieting. People say, well, they wait until they're 250 pounds and they say, hey, now it's time to make a life change. I'm going to get down to 150 in 3 weeks. I'm going to stop eating everything that I enjoy. I'm going to go exercise until I pass out. That's not possible. That's the withdrawal thing. When they talk about drug rehabilitation and drug addicts, they can't just go cold turkey. They can't do that. It doesn't work that way. Your body's going to reject it. It's going to scream at you. Your brain's going to go crazy, and you're going to go back. Everything has to be done in moderation. Everything has to be done normally and to the point where it's a small impact on your life. So I'm not saying don't eat out ever again. I'm saying if you eat out 4 times a month, go eat out 2 times a month or 1 time a month. You're still going to be eating out. But now, instead of those extra, let's say, I don't know, depending on your family size, that extra $100 that you would have used to go eat out 2 more times, you're putting in an investment. So now all of a sudden, 100, month by month by month, 20 years down the line at 4% interest or 7% interest, you're going to have a nice amount of money. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I think this is the end. And there's nothing more to be said about saving and investing. I think that I've tackled all the topics that I can think of that are important, and I really believe that if you follow everything that I suggested, and I'm not saying, like I said, I'm not coming here to sell you anything, I haven't been, and I'm not telling you, buy into this, or, put all your money in this type of stock, put all your money in bonds, or buy this particular stock. No. I don't know, I don't pretend to know. What I'm giving you guys is a basic roadmap here, this is a large philosophical thing. You have to, I think that if you modify your philosophy and adopt the one that I've suggested throughout these 4 videos, these 4 episodes, you're not going to have financial problems. And if you do, they're going to be significantly less than the ones you do have that you may have now. I can't tell you how much money you're going to have in 10 years, 20 years, because all those things are circumstantial and they're different. One person, one viewer today may be able to save $100 a month, and the next person may be able to invest $1,000 a month. So obviously the one that invests $1,000 a month is going to have more. But it's all proportionate. You do whatever you can. But the principles, the philosophy is stable, and it applies to everybody. I don't care who you are. If you live in a hut in Mumbai, or if you live in a mansion in Toronto, Canada, regardless, it's going to work. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Nobody's left any feedback up to this point, I don't believe. I haven't really been checking, but leave me some feedback. If you guys want me to make another video, I would be more than happy to. If there's something I didn't address, or you think I glossed over or didn't properly interpret or explain, let me know and I'll come back and I'll explain it either in the comments, or we'll make another video about it if it needs to be done. That's not a problem. We can always do an episode 5. This is not set in stone. Remember, like, comment, subscribe. Share this channel with all your friends and family. Dalesha has requested that I remind you to go check out her Poshmark because it's important, and she's got some new things up there that she wants to sell and get rid of, and she wants you guys to see it. So go check out her closet on Poshmark. Like I said, share this video, share this whole channel with your friends and family, not just this video. And leave us comments, leave us feedback, turn on that post notification bell so you get notified when we put up new videos. And like we said, we always try to do Mondays and Wednesdays, but sometimes things happen like today where it's Thursday. So it's better to have on the bell, so if you forget, you get notified and you don't miss a video. Check everything out. we'll be back next week with back to normal videos, and leave us any comment that you may have. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed something, and at the end of the day, I really hope you guys learned something, because all I'm doing is sharing my own personal experiences and my own personal thoughts with you guys. Somebody may disagree, that's perfectly okay, but it's always good to hear new perspectives. It's always good to keep thinking things through, and let me know if you have any comments or questions. See you guys later.